Hey guys, welcome in. My name is Tam. I'm also known as the Enlightened Auntie, and this is the Enlightened Auntie Experience. Thank you for joining me today. If you are new to my show, welcome. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. Last week we talked about cutting off childhood friends and extending that sometimes to family. And it got a really great response, a lot of views. So it makes me feel as though this is a situation, or these are circumstances that, happen a lot. It puts you in a weird space. You have a lot of questions. Today, we're going to talk about what it looks like on the other side, what it looks like to be the isolated one, what it looks like to be the person that's pushed out, set to the side, cut off from. We're going to talk about what it looks like in that isolation, and the experiences that you gain from that isolation. I know a lot of the people who follow me are within the demographic of like 20 to 35. And there are a lot of people who are kind of, going through this struggle of, disconnecting from their family so that they can go on to their, go live their adult lives or whatever. A lot of people going through their Saturn return. For those who are not familiar, who are watching me, if you're not familiar with your Saturn return, generally happens around age 29. I like to say between 27 and 30 is when you start to feel all those weird, uncomfortable feelings of change, dramatic change. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I can kind of talk about it from the perspective of all the things that you're supposed to be gaining in that. So for those people who are separating and disconnecting from family, we're going to also talk about the things that you should focus on versus, yes, there's, anger and disappointment and pain and the feeling of betrayal and, they turn their backs on me and whatnot. But in all actuality, you are being ripped from, the last stages of your adolescence and hurled into your adulthood, where you have to now make adult decisions for yourself. And my Saturn return, everything seemed to like just all happen at once. Right at the beginning, I birthed my son, and it was like a whirlwind, because by the time I found out I was pregnant with him, I was already at 14 weeks. So it was like a really fast forwarded kind of pregnancy. It happened really fast. My life was in a state of flux at that point. Everything was kind of, up in the air. Life wasn't really pretty at the time. And my Saturn return was no exception to that rule. It was not pretty. But when I found myself as the isolated one, let's talk about what that felt like. When I came to terms with the fact that I was estranged from my parents, we'll go there, we'll start there. When I realized that, okay, they're not here, they're not trying to be here, they're not a part of this, they're not a factor in whatever I do now, how do we make this work? And at the time, the things that transpired just before the fallout, things were really tense, and, things were really tense with my folks because I was staying with them for a bit because my husband and I had separated and divorced and all of that. But at the time when I walked away, or when I left because, me and my dad got into a big argument, and it was really stupid, but we got into this huge fight. I left, and my mom wasn't there during the argument, so she doesn't really know what happened because she wasn't physically there. It was just me and my son. And so I left and went and stayed at a friend's house or whatever. I had a couple of really good friends helped me out with. I got a hotel room. The next day, my mom had given me some money to get a hotel room for a few days or whatever. And between that money and the money that I'd gotten from some friends, they paid for extra days for me and my son to stay in this hotel. Literally, it was the lowest point of my life. I was homeless. I was 30 years old. No. I was 30. Yeah, I was 30. I was 30 years old, 31. Homeless with a 2-year-old, living in a hotel. And at the time, I was dealing with a medical issue where I had to have a nurse come out. And so it was really embarrassing to call the nurse and tell her to come meet me at my hotel. More embarrassing because she knew my parents, because she was also my dad's nurse at one point. It was just really crazy. So we were in the hotel for like a week. And in that time, I tried to keep things as normal as possible. I still took my son to school. I took a week off of work to just kind of figure some shit out, figure out where the hell I was gonna go, figure out what I was gonna do, like, you know. And even though at the time that it happened, my husband and I were in the middle of reconciling, I did not want to go back to our family apartment, like where we were, because there was a whole bunch of stuff going on over there. So I was alone, you know, and on my own was able to, you know, with the grace of, I will say the grace of God, like, and really good friends, you know, got a place, got situated, got an apartment, hadn't even seen it, moved in, got my son straight, you know. We happened to be across the street from a park, so it was ideal. There was a washer and dryer in my unit, which was ideal. Worked out, you know, perfectly. But as we went along, and I realized, like, I was literally out there by myself. And then when my husband and I reconciled and I had my second son, the isolation felt a little bit different, because at this point I didn't have anybody else to rely on. Like, when my parents and I kind of parted ways, it was like she took the family with her. So I really didn't have anybody to turn to. I didn't know who to turn to. So basically what happens in this period, you're not actually as alone as you feel, okay? I'm telling you the story, I'll point out, you're not as alone as you feel. It feels really isolating. I found that in that isolation, by way of miracle, because it always happened just when I needed it. You know, at that time I was really diving into my spirituality. I guess, what do people do when they go low, when they hit their bottom? You know, they turn to religion, or they turn to a higher power, which is literally what I did. I just kind of, you know, at that point I just threw myself into my spirituality. And at that point tried to figure out as much as I could on my own, try to navigate as much as I could on my own without assistance. But then when I realized I needed help, miraculously the help just arrived. That's just how it worked for me. I think sometimes you get bogged down by that isolation, like when you feel like you don't have your family and you don't have, you know, other people to turn to. It's similar to kind of like what I talked about in the last episode. Like, when you release certain energies, you open yourself up for the expansion and the receiving of something new in its place. And so the more that I released the fact that I was on the outside, like, at first it hurt. Yes, absolutely. It did hurt. It devastated. I mean, and the way that I found out was like real, I can't even remember if it was an email. It was either an email. I want to say it was an email. Could have been an email. We worked for the same, my mother and I worked for the same company at the time. But it was, or it could have been a letter she sent. It could have been handwritten. I might have just burned it. Who knows? But basically the letter was basically saying, you know, she was kind of regurgitating the stuff that my dad had said, with all this, what is it, vitriol? Is that how you pronounce it? Like all this, that was just a lot of stuff. And I was really shocked because she wasn't even there when everything took place and when everything happened. So I was kind of freaked out by like how the wording of the letter, of this goodbye, dear John type letter. But the letter was basically saying like, you know, fuck you, wish you well. And so I was devastated. My feelings were really hurt. But again, when I came to the realization that, okay, well, this changes things. After I kind of got past the feeling of betrayal, because it felt like betrayal to me, you know. And if you feel pushed out, and for those, and I know some people who are going through that right now, it does initially feel like some kind of betrayal. But what I've learned over the course of my studies and my healing and my growth is that rejection is protection from whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I kind of take that, I had to look at things in a different way. Instead of looking at it as if I was being rejected and pushed away from my family, maybe what was actually taking place is that I was being redirected and protected because I had now 3 young sons to raise. At that point, my middle son was born, and then my stepson moved in. So now I went from having 1 kid to having 3 kids. I look at it now as, well, even then I viewed it that way then. The separation from my family, or the extraction from my family, allowed me to develop my own parenting style, or learn how to kind of evolve from the way that I was raised, you know, in order to raise my children in a more conscious way. So I'm telling you this again as a way to segue into, not to look at the isolation or to be broke off from your family as some kind of punishment or damnation, where, you know, you're the bad guy and they're the good guys. Don't look at it that way. Rejection is protection in all circumstances, as far as I'm concerned, whether it's a job, it's some kind of love relationship, whatever. If you are being pushed away from a situation, no matter what that situation is, there is a divine reason for it. You may not understand the reason at the time. You may not understand what's supposed to be going on. You may not see it for years to come. But the sooner that you come to the acceptance that rejection is divine protection, when somebody cuts you off or pushes you away, maybe you're being protected from something. Now, on the flip side, karma comes into everything. And karma, we know, is about intent. So whatever someone's intent is, the universe will always balance it out. So if you were pushed out unfairly, and under nefarious conditions and circumstances, know that justice will always be served in your favor at the time, when the time is right. That's just how it works. It's balance. That's how it works. But the thing is to ask yourself, while you're going through all these changes, what are you supposed to be learning from the situation? What are you supposed to be experiencing? What are you supposed to be taking away from the experience? Look at how you feel in that moment, and extract and dissect those feelings and understand them. I'm not saying sit in a room and cry yourself to sleep and rock yourself in a corner trying to figure out why they did this to me. No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about understand and see the higher purpose in exactly what's happening to you, or exactly what's going on around you, exactly what's happening within your relationships, right? Because when you are pulled away from old things, when you're pulled away and you're separated, there's growth. There's a growth opportunity there. And so what you do with that energy and what you do with that time, whether you choose to learn, be challenged by the new, you have new circumstances that challenge you, learn from those circumstances, because when you learn from those circumstances, it's going to help you out somewhere else down the line, right? Overcoming the fear of change by just allowing yourself to go with it. You can't control anything that's happening externally to you. You can only control what's happening within you and how you respond and react to the conditions. You can't change anything. You can't control anything. So instead of freaking out and being freaked out, stand back. Observe what's happening to better understand why you're being removed from the situation. Why are you being removed? It also allows you an opportunity to create new authentic bonds. Once you're extracting yourself from certain situations, now again, you remove one thing, now you've got room for something new. Now you have room for your soul tribe to actually find you. Now, going into the future, and just like I said in the last episode, just because you come out of alignment with people doesn't mean that you're never going to be in alignment with them ever again. That's not, if you choose that, that's your choice. But just because you're not in alignment right now does not mean it's a forever thing. Now, when you come back, should you choose to reconnect with your people, whoever these people are, whoever you've been isolated from, if you choose to reconnect, this time you reconnect by choice. It's your choice. It's different when you're born into a family and these are your folks and these are your siblings and you gotta look at these people every day because this is how it is. But when you become an adult and you start making your adult decisions and start making your adult moves, I find that family is the people that truly connect to you on a soul level, who are really for you. Not every family that you're born into, all those people, they not always for you as much as you would like to think so. As much as you would like to ride for them, they're not all riding for you. That's just a fact. It may not be that way for this person or that person, but for those people over there, they got a whole family full of people that just hate on them. This is real life shit, okay? So, Sally over there may not get hated on, but Bob, Jimmy, and Jill over there all got family who can't fucking stand them, okay? Everybody's circumstances are different. And there's all kinds of reasons that people take a step back. Some people voluntarily take a step back. And when you voluntarily take a step back, I can tell you that it does cause a lot of disruption in families because other folks that want access to you don't understand that boundaries. Some folks don't understand that, right? So when you decide to reconnect, you connect by choice, not necessity. I'm gonna say that again. Reconnect by choice, not necessity, right? Necessity would cause a codependent cord. We don't want that, right? We want healthy boundaries. So if you invite them into your space, the moment you see red flags, know better, know when to take a step back and reclaim your energy. Know when to take a step back and uninvite yourself to the party, you know what I'm saying? Because you don't have to participate. It's your choice. But above all, see the bigger picture in the separation. Instead of looking at what you think you've lost, the perceived idea of what you think you've lost, and look at what you have the potential to gain with all the new opportunities that you will allow to come towards you, right? Go out there and find your soul family. Go out there and find your soul tribe. Because again, every situation is different, but rejection is really protection. It's always going to be that. It is always going to be that. So yeah, you could be the isolated one for some time. Find grace in that isolation. Find yourself. Find your voice. Find your truth. Then live in it, speak it, walk in it, stand in it, own it. Right? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Because literally, I ended up just in that time of separation, there were people, even though I felt like I didn't have like the support that I needed. Like, cause who doesn't want their mom to be there, like, you know, to help with the grandkids or whatever. But since I didn't have that, I had really awesome babysitters, and I won't even call them babysitters because they were literally my family. Childcare providers who became my family, and they took care of my sons in the way that I would have wanted them to be taken care of. And when I needed a break, because do you know how hard it is to find a babysitter for 3 kids? When I needed a break and they knew I needed a break, they offered to take my kids for me for the weekend so that my husband and I could get away and just like kind of decompress. And I was very fortunate. So all of this to say, again, rejection is protection. You get rejected from one thing, something better will come along in its place. Your family rejects you and pushes you away, I guarantee you, as soon as you release it and walk away, you will turn around and find a whole tribe of people who are just like you, who think just like you, who, you know, want community in the same kind of way that you do, or don't. You know what I'm saying? Anyhow, that's my time today because I'm trying to keep these short. I hope that you find value in my content. And if you do, please like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to book a personal reading with me. All of my information is below in the description box. You can also go to my website, www.enlightenedauntie.com, for cool merch and to book your reading. All right, so remember to be the best you that you can be and see yourself the way that I see you. I love you. Until next time, take care.